Padres Hot Tub is proudly presented by Estate Leak Detection and Plumbing. Look, let's just keep this simple. Everyone needs a plumber. Nobody knows when they're going to need a plumber. Everybody needs to have their house checked out if they are adding on, if they're doing some sort of redesign. You need to find out, are there any leaks in your foundation? Is there anything going on below the floors? You need someone reliable. You don't know when. So take down this number, 619-300-7203. Save it in your phone. Make it a contact. And when the time is right, Chris, Wally will be waiting for you on the end of that line.
It's always great when our listeners support our sponsors. It helps keep the show going, keeps us on the air, keeps us doing this. And when your sponsor is a plumber, it's not like you can just go over to the plumber and enjoy the services willy-nilly. No, the timing needs to be right. Something needs to be wrong, or you have to be working on a project. And if you are working on a project, Wally's perfect for your needs. But more than likely, something's going to need to go wrong. And we want to provide 619-300-7203 as the number you're going to call, because my buddy Wally is dependable, honest, and does great work. And that's all you need in a plumber. This is your get-out-of-jail-free card from your friends at Padres Hot Tub. And his name is Wally.
Get out of jail free /Wally. It's just you save that as the contact. Get out of free /Wally. All that's important is that you save the number 619-300-7203, Estate Leak Detection and Plumbing. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. Greg Elsten, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor. We are back with you, and there's 1 week left in the Major League Baseball season. Monday, September 25th, we begin recording. There's 1 week left in the Padres season. It's as official as it can be without being official, gentlemen. The tragic number is 1. The Padres need a win out plus a Cubs lose out and a Diamondbacks lose out to make the playoffs, or at least one of them. It's over. It's over. It's over. Last week, we ain't done. We're still here. We're still right here. Gentlemen, great to see you. How are you?
Great to see you, Craig. I'm doing great. It's been entertaining baseball, if meaningless.
Yeah. By the way, Chris, we didn't even get to say this off air. Your camera is so great today. You got some sun. Like you're looking like rested. Maybe it's not having the crushing stakes of playoff implications to worry about. But it's we're posting up. We're posting up. We are going to talk about going to see the Padres play in their final homestand later in this episode. It had a little bit of everything, just like this season, and we're having some interesting stories even come out just a few hours before we hit record to indicate what the direction of the team might be in the offseason and going forward. So I'm excited to talk about it with you boys.
Got plenty to get to. I almost forgot, but I didn't forget. We've still got a trip to Positivity Corner that we've got to head to.
No.
You guys start thinking.
I know,
because Positivity, it's coming up and you better be there. So hang on. Stay tuned for that. Positivity Corner right around the corner. First, quick housekeeping. We had a live edition of Padres Hot Tub Group Therapy on YouTube last Thursday. If you missed the show, you can find it under the live tab on the channel. You won't find it in the videos tab. You'll find it on the live tab. So check that out. We had a great breakdown of the Dennis Lin, Ken Rosenthal athletic think piece. We had some good feedback from our listeners, good content there. Check it out. We're going to do it again. We're going to go live group therapy on YouTube this week. It's going to be Thursday afternoon, maybe 5 o'clock. Stay tuned. We'll have a live setup on the YouTube channel that you can sign up to be notified when we go live. But approaching 1,000 subscribers, We're just over 100 subscribers away from getting to 1,000 subscribers. So if you have not, if you're somebody who's been listening to the show all these many years, but you do use YouTube, we ask, hey, just give us that quick subscription. Click on subscribe, hit those like buttons on the video. It helps send out the content to others, and you may find yourself enjoying the show more on YouTube than you did in the audio format. Who knows? But help us out. Live group therapy on YouTube, Thursday, probably 5 o'clock. Stay tuned to find out more. New video short coming out from one Chris Reed soon, I heard, maybe?
I am working on a more longer term one that requires a little bit more investigation on my part. I'm hoping to have it out at the beginning of next week, in addition to having a season wrap up from the 6-game road trip that'll be happening. But I am fishing, so it'll probably be out Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon.
Fair enough. So that's coming up as well. More outstanding PHT content coming your way. If you missed it last week on Have a Drink, we had on Padres organist and San Diego musician extraordinaire Bobby Cressy. A lot of people loving that interview. Some candid Padres talk, life talk, career talk, music talk in that interview, which we did sitting at a park off of Jackson Road here in La Mesa as it very slowly rained on us. Just a very light, persistent rain throughout the interview. So enjoy that. Enjoy the soggy, but not sorted, soggy, but super episode of Have a Drink. That's also available. Immaculate Talk has resumed. Joe Sheehan is taking a hiatus from the show, my baseball writer friend, to concentrate on playoff writing. My best man, Sean Riley, stepped in today. Tomorrow is former Dodgers GM Dan Evans. Adam Dorowski, who is one of the creators of the Immaculate Grid at Sports Reference, is my guest on Wednesday. So everybody, if you haven't, check out Immaculate Talk. Even if you don't play Immaculate Grid, Immaculate Talk gives you a good solid half hour of fun baseball conversation that you very much may enjoy. Seeger, also someone we very much may enjoy. Welcome to the show, Seeger. And lastly, we thank everybody who supports the show. If you enjoy our program and you would consider supporting us, we would certainly appreciate it. The best way to do so, patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. $5 is the low level, the initial level for entry, gets you into the Discord, gets you into all of our fantasy leagues, gets you into everything that's going on with this robust community that continues through the off season. We've got a Survivor Fantasy League drafting. We've got a Basketball Fantasy League drafting. NFL is underway. And of course, just all the chitter chat that we do. So patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Patrons, we've got 1 week left on our patron survey for 2023. So if you have not filled it out, and we've had over 100 people fill it out, please do so. We are taking your feedback very, very seriously. Last piece of housekeeping, also known as homecoming, whatever. Who has the low blood sugar here? Raphie or me? I forget.
All I know is I'm the king, Craig.
You're the king?
I'm the king of house cleaning and homecoming of the Padres Hot
Tub. We are deciding our baseball fantasy championships this week, and that means that championship blankets are going out this week or at the end of the week to those folks who win one of our 4 different baseball fantasy leagues. Thanks to everyone who has participated. 4 Tops Fever in the Peter Seidler contract league, the keeper league. He has already clinched his blanket because he is going against me in the championship, and I'm not going to just keep a blanket or claw one back for the old company,
That's my championship blanket. This is my show blanket.
Exactly. I could put some little gold leaf.
Oh yeah,
on the championship blanket.
I don't know. That seems pretty cool.
I'm giving 4 Tops Fever the blanket that I intend to say will be my blanket if I win the championship. I'm giving him the blanket. So, again, thanks to everybody who's participated. Blankets will be going out. Amazing stuff for everyone all year long. Okay, that's it for housekeeping, also known as house cleaning, also known as homecoming. It's time. Keep those smiles, boys. You better keep those smiles, because I'd like to welcome you to Positivity Corner. Welcome, everybody. This is where we say nothing but nice things about the Padres, and it has to be about this year's team. It can't be some bullshit nostalgia. Chris, what is it? Say something.
I live for bullshit nostalgia, Craig, but there are things to be happy about. And the one I'm going to choose is, like, these are a few guys that we've already talked about. I talked about Garrett Cooper. You talked about Luis Campusano. But right now, there are 5 guys who are not on this team for most of the year who have an OPS plus of over 100. Now, if you're familiar with the statistic, you'll know that OPS plus 100 is dead average. That is your average major league hitter. So if we have 5 guys that are coming up playing above average baseball at the plate, that bodes extremely well. All of them, with the exception of Garrett Cooper and Jurickson Profar, are under contract for next year, are cheap. The 5 are Luis Campusano, Matthew Batten, who is playing his way not even into a spring training invite. He's playing his way on to the starting 26 next year. Garrett Cooper, who I'm on the record for saying I'd love to see them take a shot at re-signing him. Jurickson's rocking a 131 in his return to the brown and gold. And Eggy Rosario, this is his first year. He's dirt cheap for the next 3. And as we're going to talk about, the Padres are going to have a motivated, vested interest in getting young, controllable players on the roster to help the big 4, the top heavy part of it. So that's 5 guys that weren't on the team most of the year. That's more than half of a lineup producing at above average level. It is impossible to be sad about that.
It's impossible, and you're not. You passed. That was positive. Raphie, you sit there and you say something nice about our baseball team.
Accidentally, trust me, I don't think anyone would do this on purpose. Accidentally gone to 2 consecutive Matt Waldron starts. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
I went in 2 different cities, hundreds of miles away from each other. I went in Oakland, and then I went to his next start in San Diego on Friday night. And listen, is Matt Waldron, does he have like a real future as a mainstay in the Padres rotation? As of now, no. I don't see it. And this is, you're talking to a founding member of the Waldron Cauldron. But let me tell you, the Cauldron has been bubbling, okay? He has looked fantastic in his last 2 starts. Now, mind you, against very, very bad teams. But I do want to point out that he's thrown his knuckleball 161 times this year, and he's only given up 6 hits off of that. And he just gave up the first home run this past Friday on a knuckleball that didn't knuckle. So, that's the risk. That's what's going to happen with that pitch. But I've actually really enjoyed going and seeing him pitch the last couple times. He's throwing the knuckleball. I think that in his last start on Friday that I saw, he threw it exactly half the time. So he's really starting to sprinkle it in, which I appreciate. His sinker is also looking good. Fastball is not great, guys. The fastball, the slider is not great. But if he can really get the confidence to work on that knuckleballer and get it up to kind of like Tim Wakefield, R.A. Dickey levels of frequency, I'm going to be really excited about it. And I'm going to steal a little bit from later in the episode to say this. Manny's been awesome since the article came out. I was there when he hit 2 home runs, and it was the electricity at Petco Park I had not felt in over a year. It was just it was something that was just truly special, and I'll talk more about that later in the episode. But those are 2 really positive things about the Padres for me.
The pitching ninja, Rob Friedman, did a fun thing on Matt Waldron. I've been kind of watching his page, waiting for the Matt Waldron thing because the knuckleballs are so rare. It was against Tony Kemp. Tony Kemp had a great look on his face after swinging and missing at one that just didn't turn at all. I think it was 100 RPMs, which is insane. And the whole run he gave up, it was just a bad pitch that was right over the middle, too. So, like, that's going to happen to everybody. Darvish does that with his miracle pitches.
Right. Absolutely. Waldron has been pretty legit the last couple of starts, and it makes you think, like, well, if there is a path to this, if there's a path to figuring out the combination of the pitch shapes and the tunneling that he's doing, it's beyond, obviously, just throw 100% knucklers, because what he's been doing that's been very effective is he has been putting the knuckleball in the minds of hitters and then not throwing it. And they're being put in a spot now where they have to respect that pitch, as opposed to just going like, well, we're going to spin on it and wait for him to throw one of those straight fastballs, and then we're going to clobber that fastball. The fact that he's been able to drop in the knuckleball pretty regularly for strikes and just kind of float it in there. He's not doing what I've seen other knuckleballers do, where he takes it, floats it, now he tries to drop it further down. It's much more of almost a decoy.
Yeah.
But he's using it very effectively as a decoy, and then he got a bunch of strikeouts on a sinker as a result. His last time out. So, good stuff. Great note.
I heard him in an interview where he was talking about his nails. I think it might have been Ben and Woods. I might be off. I can't recall it, but he got a new nail file, guys. He got a diamond nail file that he hasn't even had a chance to utilize yet. So watch out. Our guy has got some new tech that might lead to even better knuckler results in spring training. So close eye on Matt Waldron's travel kit, his grooming bag next spring.
Yes. Outstanding. Here's my positivity corner. The Padres made some deadline trades, and a lot of them had no impact materially on the team. But there's one guy who will be back next year. And thanks to Drew Pomerantz's money coming off the books, even his arbitration salary will essentially be covered and at a discount when Scott Barlow returns to this team next season. Scott Barlow didn't have a great year in Kansas City. He came over. He pitched great, if you remember that first outing in Colorado. Then he gave up like 4 runs consecutive outings. He got really smacked 2 outings in a row. And it was like, oh, Scott Barlow stinks. Scott Barlow doesn't stink. After that little bump at the beginning, it was 1 run allowed in 20 innings for Scott Barlow until Saturday. He has pitched 26 1/3 innings out of the bullpen since the deadline. That leads all Padres relievers by 5. It's 5 more than anyone else has thrown out of the bullpen. He has shown the willingness and ability to throw 5 outs, come back the next day, and get up and go at it again. And he was great on Saturday. He did what he was supposed to do. He came in with a Manfred man on Saturday. He struck out the last guy. He did not allow that run to score. The Padres effed it up. He went back out there for a second inning because they had nobody else available, and trying to work multiple innings, multiple games. He gave up a couple runs in the 11th. But I think Scott Barlow has been really, really good, and I'm really excited to see him as a potential 8th or 9th inning option for the Padres next year.
Yeah, and I can't help but think that, speaking of extra inning games, if we had Scott Barlow the whole year, just that one other arm at the back end of the game, they wouldn't be 0-12. Like, I feel like, I know he had a rough one that go, but just one more really quality, trustworthy arm this season, I think they win a handful of those extra inning games.
Well, it's that thing we keep coming back to, where the Robert Suarez injury is potentially sneaky, the sneakiest, the worst injury, worst hit to the team this year, because the trickle down effects is that then that's your 8th inning guy. So now your 7th inning guy is your 8th inning guy, and your 6th inning guy is your 7th inning guy, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when you have the limitations that we've talked about, on the show a lot already, that Josh Hader presents, which we saw this weekend, then it puts you in a really compromising position. So to have a guy who's willing, like you said, Craig, to just come in and be like, 5 outs, throw me out there the next day, I don't care. Like let's do this, let's seal this. It's really valuable, and I think that trade is going to age incredibly well in the years to come.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And hey, while we're talking about guys who are willing to do the job, Robert Suarez had a 5-out save on Friday, came right back on Saturday and pitched a scoreless inning because the diva closer was following the diva closer rules. So it's going to be really cool not to have a diva closer next year. I think it's going to substantially help the team, and I think that it will help the team more than the potential performance gap between Hader and Suarez or Barlow or whoever else is in the mix next year. I think it has been just a crippling. But wait, that's for another segment. This is Positivity Corner. And I'd like to say thank you all for joining us here in Positivity Corner. We now return to our regularly scheduled show.
Okay, can I talk about diva closers now?
Yeah, now you can. I was about to take it dark, and I'm like, no, not inside this corner. We got to walk back out into the street first. We got to get off
out of the airlock. Josh Hader and playing out of the park baseball, which is kind of like the most accurate baseball sim on the market right now, has absolutely ruined the 9th inning closer for me, like forever. Like, I think your best arm has got to be used in your highest leverage situation, and I don't care if that's at the top of the 7th facing the top of the lineup, your Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, or, if it's the 8th, 6 is a little early, but I'm kind of done with this. You're saving one person for the inning 9, and if you're not winning, you don't get to use him, because that has cost us games this year. It just has. Watching Josh Hader be, put into this box where he can only be used under the certain circumstances necessary to get him a save that's not longer than 1 inning. I'm done with it. It sounds like you guys are too.
Well, I think it's a San Diego specific thing too, because we have a statue of a reliever right next to the bullpen. And in our minds as Padres fans, like, we constantly think of the closer as being this very, very important person. I mean, and it's even before Trevor Hoffman. Like, you had Goose Gossage here, like you had Mark Davis here. You had like tons of pitchers who have come in and out here and had success in that role. And I think that this is like maybe the last vestige of kind of like an older way of thinking about the game that is going to leave in San Diego, because I think we have such a strong identity with that closer role. But I could see that happening. I could see that happening next year. And I know we're paying Robert Suarez closer money, but I think that designation is going to become increasingly irrelevant as the years go on, guys.
This was a funny line in the Discord, so I'm going to resurrect it to put it on the show. But as I was there with Chiloa watching Suarez come in to pitch the 8th inning after throwing 5 outs the day before, I wrote in our watch party, if Josh Hader threw 5 outs in a game and was asked to pitch the next day, he would demand A, $5,000 cash on the barrel, B, helicopter waiting outside for immediate 3-day trip to the destination of his choosing, C, her name is Divine with 2 Ys. Enough said. Say no more. That's what it's going to take to get a 5-out save followed by a next day performance from Josh Hader. You want to see it? Get that barrel, get the $5,000, get the helipad, give Divine a ring. You might get him to say yes. It's a specific list of demands.
That's just not conducive for a team trying to cut payroll, Craig.
We might need to go a different direction. I tend to agree. We might need to go a different direction. Okay, let's get into the meat of the thing. There's not a ton going on. We'll talk a little bit about that last weekend at home. There was certainly some pathos and some party time and some everything else in there. But I think the one big thing that's happened since our last show is that we got something we've been demanding for a long time. We got it from a place I was not expecting it. And that was a Friday, Friar Friday interview on the Padres flagship 97.3 with the CEO of the franchise, Erik Greupner. And this is a very, much like it's a top-heavy roster, it's a top-heavy front office, right? You've got AJ Preller, who's president of baseball operations and GM and direct, but you've also got Erik Greupner, who is the CEO. He's not just the baseball side, he's the marketing side. He's the CEO. And I was actually coming on the half hour after Greupner on Friday on Ben and Wood, so I was tuned in, listening to the whole thing, watching him on YouTube. Here's my brief rundown, and then let's get into some topics out of it. First off, just best and strongest comments by anyone in the front office so far, better than anything we've heard from Preller, Melvin, anyone else. Expressing disappointment, direct disappointment in how the season unfolded, in how the team underperformed. He was asked about Peter Seidler. Erik Greupner, I went back and listened to this all today, so this isn't just a week-old thought. Almost sounded like a eulogy, his response. Just never talking about his health, only talking about how important he is and how much he's meant to the city and to unhoused people in our region and his charitable efforts, and that everything will continue. He said things continue apace. But it didn't sound like Peter Seidler is involved at all right now. And it did make me question just how ill he is, because obviously the Padres know. But when they don't respond with something, I was expecting something sunny in that answer. I was expecting something much better than you thought, or he's doing great. I talked to him yesterday, something like that. And we didn't get that. Go back, listen to it, decide for yourself. I thought it was stark in how much he was like, this lion of a man, essentially. And I was like, holy cow. So he did promise, and it was in part of the answer of Seidler. He said there will be a strong review of everything that this organization has done, including the front office. And he said that Seidler would be a part of that. Something that's been backed up by an AC article today, but on Friday, if you listened to Erik Greupner, you knew that team payroll is going down next year. He made that clear without making it explicit. But continuing, Erik Greupner acknowledged a lack of cohesion. These are his words: a lack of cohesion, a too top-heavy roster. His quote: a lot of elk and not a lot of young, hungry guys. I don't feel like that's an actual allegory. Or
well, I feel like he was at an Elks Lodge recently or something, and was around older men at an Elks Lodge, and then was just like, okay, that's the thing. That's what it's from.
Yeah. I'm like, is that a saying? I don't. A lot of elk and not enough deer, or a lot of elk and not enough Bambis, or where's Thumper? I just didn't know, but I'm sure that the saying isn't a lot of elk and not a lot of young, hungry guys. But nonetheless, that is what was said. And I thought the maybe most interesting thing is that when he was asked about the Kevin Acee and Dennis Lin, Ken Rosenthal articles,
yes, Craig,
he said the articles were, quote, well-researched from intelligent reporters. He didn't say at any point they were wrong. He even said, I couldn't say that they're wrong. He painted them as somewhat incomplete sketches, which is exactly what you and I and all of us did on these shows. We said, this offers one vision, this offers another vision. You got to kind of put the two pictures together to see the whole story. But he in no way tried to tamp down either of those articles, which told me, one, he's a primary source for Kevin Acee. Yes. There's no doubt in my mind that Erik Greupner is, if not the primary source for Kevin Acee, a major primary source for Kevin Acee. But really, I listened to all this, guys, and I'll just say what I said at the end, or at the beginning again, at the end. I never expected this from Erik Greupner. Erik Greupner, I'm figuring he's coming on to talk about season ticket renewals, the Cutwater Lounge, firework display, anything but what he did. And in particular, to kind of lock in those articles and say, yeah, no, they're right. Are we at a spot? And this is where I open it up to my dear friends. Are we at a spot where Erik Greupner is about to take the reins and take this franchise from AJ Preller and make a big change with Peter Seidler somewhat sidelined?
So Erik Greupner is going to be our BDD that I called for on the last one. I'm not against it, having listening to him Friday, because like you said, Craig, that was the most coherent, non-gaslighty, direct acknowledgement of what Padres fans have seen this season. And to have a team CEO who is usually more preoccupied with the roster of the concerts that are going to be coming to the ballpark than he is the roster of ball players, it was like surprising, but deeper than that. It was almost like daunting. Like, oh man, there are power dynamics at work within the Padres front office that we aren't going to be privy to, and there's power plays happening right now. There's politicking, and if the guy who is being the most coherent with the fans is the one stepping into the vacuum of power, I'm more pleased with that than I am, the wonderkind who has the awe of the ill owner. I'm more pleased with the guy who is running the team and creating fan experiences that we all can appreciate, rather than the one who's kind of in his lab trying to create the perfect designated hidden situation with guys over 37 years old.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think, Rafe?
Well, first of all, it was funny. I did hear him say to Kevin Acee on the interview, "Stand back and stand by," which I think was your inclination for why you thought he was why you thought he might be a primary source. We had got on before we hit record on this. I asked you guys because I wasn't even sure in the org structure of the Padres, like, could Erik Greupner theoretically fire AJ Preller? And you guys both said yes. And I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. This could happen. I think you framed it, Craig, really well in the context of a power vacuum, of like this idea that like Seidler is not there clearly, like, and because Peter Seidler was not a shy guy before it became known that he was having health issues. So the idea that like he wouldn't be there, I think, especially now, like obviously like before we knew what was going on, like I know Craig, you and all of us had said like, hey, Peter Seidler, we'd love to hear from you, et cetera, et cetera. Now we obviously know what's going on. And it really does feel like this organization is kind of rudderless. It's like that there's no sense of sort of direction. And until we got this interview, in a sense, where it didn't necessarily say, hey, this is what we're going to do, but it did at least acknowledge that there's a problem, which is the first step, by the way. And I think that in terms of, obviously we've had culture conversations lately about has Manny Machado helped foster a culture in the clubhouse? I think that like certainly the culture that the Padres front office has perpetuated throughout baseball, they have a reputation of it being toxic and cutthroat. I mean, I don't know if you guys had the chance to listen to Effectively Wild, did a whole episode about the Lynn and Acee pieces, which was astounding to me as an Effectively Wild listener to have a whole episode about our team. It was kind of like bizarre. And basically, by the way, I just want to note, they kind of attributed a lot of stuff to luck this year. They were less bought into a lot of the more emotional aspects of this thing, as national writers very far removed. They were like, this seems like a good team that's bad at winning baseball games. But one of the things that they did say is it is very well known that the reputation in San Diego of working for AJ Preller is you do not have a personal life. Like even for baseball standards, there is an expectation that you give 100% to the team. And so I just think having someone from the organization who is senior to AJ Preller out there saying that there is a problem is very, very important, Craig.
It's so different. And, honestly, all I was expecting was some glad handing, some season ticket member, grace notes. Yes, we're disappointed. We're going to try and figure it out. But he came out and spoke like someone in charge of the organization. And I hate to be this way with Erik Greupner. I've always kind of felt like Greupner was that marketing guy. He was the Wayne Partello, the new Wayne Partello. And so, you could take what he says seriously, but like it's mostly going to be about ballpark stuff. We got a new beer in, we've got a new stage, we've got a new concert, et cetera, so on and so forth. And there's always been this feeling for years that Preller is the only baseball voice in the organization and that Papa Pete just loves the song, right? That he just loves everything he hears. And because the last thing that Peter Seidler said the first week of July was AJ is excellence, we've repeated it as if he said it every week since the first week of July. But he actually just said that one time in one interview. We don't know any of his words since then. So I don't want to discount the idea, and Chris, please respond, but I don't want to discount the idea that Peter Seidler isn't behind all of this, that Peter Seidler isn't actually upset and has changed his mind and has changed his tune and is directing this from the sidelines, because it's easy for us to construct a narrative of, Seidler under a mask and machines beeping next to his bed, and then Greupner being like, lay there, just rest, buddy, rest a little longer. Everything will be fine when you wake up. And then stepping out of the room and going, I'm in charge now. I don't believe that is the case, but Greupner speaking the way he did, and I'll have a little follow-up to it, Chris, after this, but it made me think for the first time that AJ Preller actually might get fired next week.
I have long been suspicious of the Peter Seidler, AJ is excellent being canon, being like that's the entirety of his opinion, because Major League Baseball owners give like 4 interviews a year. And then, there's not a lot that gets tied to it. Like he's not signing contracts out there by making those statements. I just wanted to give a little kudos to Ben and Woods, because I thought they asked some pretty direct questions. It seems like whenever AJ's on, they kind of have to put on the oven mitts, and kind of like, it's okay, buddy. We know you're great and all that, but we have to ask this tough question. And they seemed to kind of drop that a little bit with Erik. They just kind of went along with it, and I thought we got a lot of good information as a result. So shout out to the flagship team there.
I agree. Rafe, any further reaction? Because I got a couple other things on this too.
No, go for it.
Okay. So Greupner's interview is Friday morning. Then we have the weekend at home. Today, Kevin Acee releases what he was saying on the radio with Darren Smith today. Is he said that the Manny one should have said first in a series, essentially, because he's trying to do a series of exposés, postmortems, investigative pieces, etc. The piece he put out today, we don't have to dig a lot into the meat of it, which is talking player by player about the money, who could come off the books, who might not come off the books. If you're interested in that content, I direct everyone to last week's episode, where we went into this in pretty good detail. We left out one thing, Drew Pomerantz. We left out Drew Pomerantz's $10 million. We didn't talk directly about the idea of the Padres non-tendering someone like a Trent Grisham, which is certainly a possibility. So there's a chance to add a couple more. Tim Hill is another one of those players that could be non-tendered, but we've talked about a Soto trade possibility. What do you do with Walker? What do you do with Lugo? What do you do with Snell? What do you do with Nick Martinez, et cetera, et cetera? So check out last week's episode if you want to hear that. That's the bulk of today's AC piece, but the beginning of today's AC piece. Let me just give you these 3 paragraphs. Changes are coming for the Padres. The people making decisions regarding the team's baseball personnel, both who is acquired and how they are used, could be different than those who have been doing so. That reality looms large over the next week or so. The path the team travels in many matters is currently being charted by more people than usual, including members of Seidler Equity Partners. Padres chairman Peter Seidler remains involved, but not nearly as intimately as he recovers from a medical issue. But whatever happens with President of Baseball Operations A.J. Preller and or some of his lieutenants and or manager Bob Melvin, the approach to revamping the roster this offseason will be altered, according to several sources familiar with the Padres' plans. Guys, fact check me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Kevin Acee, one other time this year, unless he was doing it in the most offhand, most toss-away fashion possible, ever even intimated that A.J. Preller would be gone at the end of the year. And when he did any talk of this, it was always about Melvin. And today, he further in a radio interview said he's positive Bob Melvin was asking him over the weekend, like, who is putting out stuff saying that I would leave my managerial position? I'm not going to leave. Like, I've got one more year on my contract. I've got, there's $4 million more owed. He didn't say it, but Acee filled that part in. Like, there's $4 million left coming to me. I'm not going to make that doing anything else. Like, I'm not leaving, like you could fire me and pay me, but I'm not going to quit and just walk away from that. And I can understand and believe that. But see how I'm just putting this together? Like, you've got an AC piece, then you've got Erik Greupner on the radio saying, really well researched by intelligent reporters. And then the next piece that comes out, like, tracks everything that Greupner said in that Friday interview and injects for the first time all year some doubt about A.J. Preller's future while acting like that was always a part of the mix. So, like, Greupner as primary source confirmed to me for AC, but Seidler Equity Group? Seidler Equity Partners? What's up with that?
That was the 3 most alarming words I have read in an AC piece. I mean, I was way more alarmed by those 3 words than by the Manny piece. Way more. That is some scary stuff, because I guarantee you, whoever the heck the partners are, unless they're Trevor Hoffman and friggin' Mark Sweeney, they care a lot less about the Padres than Peter Seidler does.
Yeah. And, I think that this is definitely like, it's not quite like red string, like, pointing between pictures of Kevin Acee and Erik Greupner on a corkboard while Craig is smoking cigarettes. It's not quite that level of conspiracy, but there is a little question of, like, we are drawing a little bit of conjecture here, putting pieces together, et cetera. This isn't a certainty or anything, but isn't it so much more fun, you guys, to think of it as a certainty? Isn't it so much more fun to just say that this is what's actually happening? Because frankly, there's not a lot else going on to talk about with this. And I really think that, like, this is actually going to be more towards, like, what we're going to be talking about over the next month or so. Because I think until, like, the big thing happens, it's going to be like little whispers that are going to be coming out in trickles and spats, like, through the media. So much like Kevin Acee said, this is the first in a series. I think this is going to be the first in a series of episodes for us, where we're trying to piece together who are the sources for which journalists, because there's going to be a lot coming out in the next few weeks.
Who at Seidler Equity Partners? Who's involved? Like, what's going on? Who is this person? Is this somebody completely not related to the Padres?
Members, plural,
Yeah.
multiple.
Well, Okay, I'm on the Seidler Equity Partners team webpage right now. We've got Robert Seidler, I'm assuming his brother, co-founding
Yeah,
and
that's his
managing
bro.
partner. That feels a little Game of Thronesy to me.
Yeah.
We got
Stannis with the red woman.
yeah. We got a bunch of dudes in like very fun blazers and kind of like Easter pastel-y sort of button-ups. Everyone's very happy. So I don't know. I like this team. This could be, our new overlords could be kind of nice. I'm intrigued to hear a little bit, but there's no one in here that I'm like, oh, this is a logical person that would make sense to then be directing the organization of the San Diego Padres. So, we've got Matt. Is Matt Seidler? Who's Matt Seidler? Is that his son?
Another Seidler.
He's young.
No,
Here we are at Seidler Equity Partners with Robert Seidler and Matt Seidler and Jacob McCompasty and Ozzie Guillen. What the fuck's he doing here?
Listen, you motherfuckers are
Just
going
in
to
the
spend
back
so
of the
much
room.
money on old people from now on. These motherfuckers are too old. We're going to get young. That was Ozzie Guillen. That was my Ozzie Guillen impersonation.
It was a near perfect Ozzie Guillen. So yeah, I mean, hey, look, watch this space. This is the first time I was 100% convinced, and you guys know it. I was 100% convinced that we were all going to be told all off season that it was all about stats, it was all about luck, it was all about 7-22, 0-12. It was all about over expectations and media pressure and anything but our organization might not do things perfect. And to have that from Erik Greupner restored in me at least a dream that something could change this offseason and that the moment the Padres are eliminated, they're going to take a different tack to this season than they have so far. Speaking of almost eliminated, let's transition to the final home weekend for the San Diego Padres. They took 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals, wrapping up a 5-1 homestand, matching their best homestand of the year. The 8-game winning streak, it was extended to 8 on Friday. It ended at 8 on Saturday. Sunday, the Padres blew them out. Rafe, you got to go with your dad to Friday's game. What was your takeaway from that?
Guys, I've had a lot of time this season to think about baseball, because we haven't had a lot of time to think about winning. And really, I think that there's only like 2 states that baseball can exist in a positive manner. There's like 2 positive states of baseball. There's baseball as pastime, and there's baseball as magic. And the Padres have not been able to live in baseball as pastime since 2018, because the moment that they signed Manny Machado, the stakes became real. Like, now you can really only find pastime in minor league baseball, or like, for instance, when I went to Oakland and sat for an afternoon at the Oakland Coliseum with 7,000 other people and 2,000 feral cats and a couple of possums and stuff like that. Like, that was baseball as pastime, and I had a blast. And Friday night I got to experience something that I hadn't experienced in a very long time, which was baseball as magic. Because basically, what the job of a front office of a serious baseball team is alchemy, basically. You are trying to put a winner on the field, but even if you put a winner on the field, like, most of it is luck. Like, most of it is just up to, like, did the sequencing of the things happen in the way that you needed them to happen to hoist a World Series trophy. And on Friday night, getting to see Manny Machado hit 2 home runs, getting to see the team come from behind, despite still having trouble hitting with runners in scoring position, and despite not being able to use their closer after an off day, and sending the Robert Suarez out for a 5-out save, like, they still got to spin a little bit of magic, and downtown San Diego was electric. Like, the stadium was sold out. It was a for sure sellout. And everyone stuck around. And there were Cardinals fans there too, who also have had a miserable season. And people were like playfully jawing at each other. Like, this was like had some sort of implications of anything happening. And we left the game. We were driving home, and my dad and I were just we couldn't believe it because it was an 8-game win streak, and it was like they actually really might do the thing. Like there's that little bitty drops of hope, that toxic, terrible element of hope that were creeping through my blood, that was coursing through my veins as we were leaving on Friday night. I really hope that we get more magic next year, because baseball pastime is hopefully not coming back to San Diego for quite some time. So if there's anything that I am taking away from Friday night and hoping for next season, it's just a little bit more magic.
Beautiful.
I love that. Really well said. Well, that magic brought myself to the ballpark on Saturday, as we talked about when we went golfing Saturday morning. I was holding my tickets waiting to see, because I thought the previous Tuesday in Blake Snell's final start that we talked about on Group Therapy last week would be my last time at the ballpark this year. But then when they won their 8th in a row, myself and our great patron, Chiloa, we went to the game on Saturday. And it was a different experience because a little bit of a surprise. We wound up in different seats. We wound up down on the field level, a little bit just behind third base. Really, really good seats. Definitely around some Cardinals fans, because that's where they generally sit. Usually visiting fans sit behind the visiting dugout. So we were around some Cardinals fans, but they were very polite, best fans in baseball, whatever, till the 11th. We'll get there. And boy, what a perfect way for the Padres' attempt to win to come to an end in 2023. And I do want to thank him. And just building off what you said, Raphie, like, I was at that game Saturday. My stomach was churning. That knot you feel, that nervous knot, the excitement, like fluttering oh my God, we're really pinch hitting Jurickson Profar here. We're really going to do this. Like that. Like you start to do these things with your hand. If you're watching on YouTube, you're just like all that nervous energy, exultation, the rally in the 9th, just the whole lower deck standing the whole time, just compelling the team's performance forward. It was really cool. And I truly thought after the first week of August that we would not experience that whatsoever in 2023. So it was really cool to be there at a game that I hadn't felt that way since the playoff games. Since the Dodgers and Phillies playoff games last year. I hadn't felt that way at the ballpark. Like, it's all on the line. It's all on the line right now. There's no reason to bitch. There's no reason to do anything but just go 100% behind your team and try and lend your energy to their energy and see if it can be something good. And so the Padres Saturday just gave us the most 2023 game that they could possibly give us. A 1-0 lead early on a Manny hit. Outstanding pitching. Nick Martinez, really good. Avila, really good. Every reliever who came in was terrific in that game. The only hit the Cardinals get in regulation is a 2-out seeing eye right side of the infield roller by their number 9 hitter that just somehow ducks between Cooper and Kim and goes to right field, and 1 run scores, and then Tatis throws out the second run and Campy drops the ball. It was Luis Campusano's worst game as a Padre.
Easily. It was brutal.
I mean, by a mile. He was bad in every level. He didn't throw anyone out. He dropped the ball at the plate twice. He homered in the 6th, and Jordan Walker pulled the ball back, and Campusano admired his fly ball and then got thrown out at second base by 6 feet, which he would have made standing if he had just played and not watched. In the 8th, trying to rally, Ha-Sung Kim got picked off first base. The Padres were 1 for 10 at that point with runners in scoring position. And then I feel like I'm even forgetting something else crazy that happened in that game. Oh, yeah. When they scored, the catcher, Kisner, did this crazy hand fadeaway slide where like Kim was about to touch his fingertip with a glove and he curled his fingertip in and deked him and then brought the right, like one of the craziest slides I'd ever seen to avoid being. So it's like every little thing stacked against the Padres the whole game. And then in the bottom of the ninth, Ryan Helsley not just walks guys, but walks our 7, 8, 9 in a row to get to our 1, 2, 3. And it's Bogaerts, Tatis, Soto. And the only reason we score a run at all is because Xander Bogaerts, UPS delivered double play grounder was too slow. It was just hit a tick too softly for the Cardinals to go home for a home to first. Otherwise, they don't even score a single run. They get one run. They've got second and third, one out. Tatis swings out of his ass, strikes out. Soto swings out of his ass, strikes out. Barlow gets through the 10th. They walk Machado and Camposano immediately double plays. It was just the most Padres 2023 game possible. Every little thing adding up to it wound up being a 3-run loss, but the 12th extra inning loss, 0-12. And it was just like, God damn, that's perfect. Like if we're going to lose and be eliminated, do it on the 12th extra inning loss of the year to tie the Expos all-time record.
Nailed it, man. It was... Go, Raphie.
Oh, I was just going to say very quickly, you mentioned the Expos record. They're tied with the 1969 Montreal Expos for the worst extra innings record ever at 0-12. I just want to say that if they finish the season and fail to break 500, if they finish with 80 wins or less, which they're 77 and 79 going into tonight's game, they will set the record for the biggest run differential for any team who did not break 500. They are currently at 91 runs in the plus column on the season, and that eclipses the 2006 Cleveland Indians, who had an 88 run differential positive column. So historic levels of unluckiness and ineptitude and bad sequencing, Chris.
You are perfectly forgiven for thinking this team had 91 wins, Raphie. That's probably around what their Pythagorean would be. I just wanted to point out that if it's a flip of a coin in extra innings for the Padres this year, they're 6-6. And what does 6 more wins do for them?
Puts them in the playoffs.
It hurts. It's brutal. It's been that type of season. You nailed it with your testimony from this game, Craig. I had the same experience just sitting on my couch. I finally got to watch a game on my TV because my kid wasn't there watching friggin' Elemental or Cars. So I got to see it on my big screen, and I let myself believe. I didn't let myself believe they were going to make the playoffs. But I did let myself believe they were going to get that 9th win in a row. I think I texted you, Craig, that the seasons had changed. It was fall now and our colors are brown and gold. But the season hadn't changed. It's still 2023.
Yeah. I left out Soto in the 7th inning, coming up with the bases loaded and after the previous batter walked on 4 pitches and immediately swinging at the first pitch and grounding into another tapper on the right side. The very same guy who had the quote in the Lynn article about don't everyone just try and hit a 500-foot bomb. And then Sunday, Juan Soto hit a 500-foot bomb. He hit a 3-run homer, 461 feet. And Fernando Tatis Jr. robbed a home run even better than Jordan Walker had done the day before, even more stylish. As Blue said on Big Brother, everything he did just a little bit cuter and a little bit better. That's exactly what Tatis did on Sunday. And it was, again, the perfect finish. The tease of joy, the 10-run win, the complete domination that makes you think that the Padres could play this way all the time, but they couldn't. They couldn't even play that way half the time. But a good solid 40% of the time, they could play like the best team in the league. And that's the last weekend at home for the Padres. They set their all-time attendance record, 3.2 million. Missing 2 home games, 3.2 million. An incredible output by the Padres gente, by the faithful, to support this club. And another one of those articles, the intimation that the Padres have literally doubled their revenue, their incoming revenue from 2019 to now. So just absolutely incredible. And as such, this is the most disappointing season in Padres history. And just every number adds it up. This was the one. And, so it's like kind of F you for making me feel that way for a few hours, Padres, but also thank you, weirdly, for making me feel that way, because I didn't think you were going to make me feel anything again until someone got fired or something changed. And instead, I, just like you, Chris, man, I was all the way in. Like Saturday night, I was all the way in. Like, we're going to win 9 in a row. Then it's going to be 10. Then it's going to be 12. It's going to be 14. It's going to be 16. Someone's going to collapse under the pressure. It's going to find a way. It's going to be the craziest shit ever. And of course, I mean, it wasn't, but thank you for making me feel that way, at least for another day.
They didn't win 10, Craig. They never won 10.
No, they never won 10. They did get to 8. 8 is enough.
Yeah.
As it turns out, 8 is enough. All right, real quick, guys, because I know Rafe's got to get out of here. Final week. The Padres aren't technically eliminated, and in Monday night's game, it's Blake Snell against Logie Webb. I think this is like the last big game of the year for the Padres. This will be Snell's last start, I think. Now that they're out of it, there's no reason for them to like rush him back on 4 days rest. I mean, they could. If he wants to pitch on Sunday, I'm sure he could. But I think this is going to be his last start. Chance to get a 15th win. It would be. No, you're right. It would be Monday to Sunday. But still, there's no reason to do it. You don't have to do it. Blake would need to want to take the ball on Sunday. They could give it to literally anybody. Jose Espada. And if Snell walked off the mound with the trainer on Sunday, it would be the dumbest start ever. So I'm just saying, I think tonight's his last start. I think this is it. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be cheering him on.
His girlfriend did say on Instagram that she was going to miss San Diego. FYI.
Because he gone. And there's no, I can't even think of a universe where it makes sense for the Padres to re-sign Blake Snell. Maybe It's the universe where they won the World Series this year.
It's the universe where
short of
Blake Snell loves San Diego so much that he's going to take a Tony Gwynn discount and re-sign. But he's not going to do that because Scott Boras is his agent. And frankly, neither should he, by the way. He got a moderate payday. He did not get a huge payday by signing an extension with the Tampa Bay Rays that we then took on. So I love Blake, and if you love something, you have to let it go, and we have to let Blake go and get his payday. And by the way, let some other team pay for what will inevitably be years of decline, because I feel very confident that this is the best year of Blake Snell's career. There's not going to be a better year after this one, is what I mean to say. So I love you, Blake.
I couldn't agree
Please
more.
fly free.
Yeah, for sure. This could be the last dance for 4 different starters this week. So you're going to see 6 different guys toe the slab to start the game for the Padres this week. It could be the last appearance for 4 of them. It will be the last appearance for Blake. It will be the last appearance for Seth Lugo. It's probably the last appearance for Michael Wacha. And it might be the last appearance for Nick Martinez. And I don't know. I might be off on this. AC has written 2 different things, or AC and Lynn have both written something like, oh, Nick Martinez would definitely decline his $8 million player option. He'll definitely get more
I
on
saw
the
that
market.
too. I thought that was weird.
I'm suspect on that too myself, guys. That just doesn't make a lot of sense, having watched Nick Martinez and looking at his stats.
Also,
the last guy I felt this way about was Profar. Like last year, everyone's like, well, Profar's going to opt out. He's going to get a 4-year. The Reds are going to give him $50 million. Oh, someone's going to give him $60 million. And I was like, nope, he should opt back in. I remember getting in an argument with John about that. I'm like, nope, he should opt back in. I think Nick Martinez should opt back in. But unlike Jurickson Profar, he probably does have some kind of contract out there. He's passed 100 innings 2 years in a row. He's got a lot of versatility. I'm sure you could make a good argument to a team, but I ain't paying him more than $8 million to pitch for this team next year. Like, no way should the Padres exercise their club option, the 232. Like, no way. So that's up to you, Nick. If you want to opt out and you think there's greener pastures, mate, all right. To me, it's pretty cool if you opt back in, and we'll pencil in another 100 innings for you next year, one way and another. Honestly, I'd like to see them try him as a starter, because I think I've seen enough of Nick Martinez, the quote unquote leverage reliever. I didn't like what I saw for leverage relief this year. But point being, could be the last dance for 4 guys, and maybe tonight's the last game for Manny. Maybe he's just going to play 4 more times this week. I don't know, but
I mean,
and probably
he's going under the knife as soon as that number is 0.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So today's his last game then. Tonight's his last game.
If they
that
lose.
Makes sense. I hope they announce that so I can cut him in fantasy.
Let's not talk about fantasy, Craig.
Why? What's the matter?
091. Or was it 190?
I think you might have gotten 1. Yeah, you might have gotten
I got
1.
you in stolen bases.
You nailed me on that.
As everybody would have predicted just looking at me.
Team slow. Well, yes. Yeah, so that's a brief digression. But it's shut her down time. Let's shut her down. Yeah. Shut her down. Shut them all down. Juan wants to play 162. Cool. Toddy, you want to keep playing? Fine, whatever. Xander, fine, whatever. Keep rolling out there. Give us a reason to watch. But Eggy Rosario, Matt Batten at third base, the rest of the way, no problems, no worries. Give Manny the rest of the year off, man. It hasn't been a great year for you. You got to 30. You kept going way past the point that a lot of people would have shut her down. So, big ups, Manny. Shut her down. Shut her down. And without any further comment, gentlemen, if you have something else to add, I say we shut her down on this podcast too.
Yeah, it might be a little while before you guys hear from me. I probably won't be on the show later this week. So let's hope for some fun baseball. Go Padres.
Despite everything, improbably, impossibly, go Padres. I'm going to go eat some food. It's Yom Kippur. Your boy's been fasting for 24 and a half hours. And somehow I didn't atone quite hard enough for the Padres to make the playoffs. I'm sorry. I'll do better next year.
Next year, atone harder, mate. Come on. Get in with the bitter herbs.
Let's get SAG-AFTRA a contract.
Oh. Yes. Riders are done. Let's get SAG-AFTRA taken care of. For Chris Reed and Raphie Cantor, I'm Craig Elsten. We'll be back live Thursday afternoon on YouTube with a live group therapy. Hope to see you there. Until then, hey, go Padres.